All right, we're live. We're live on the pregame, and Greg is the first one in. What's going on, Greg?
Bet you've never played that for a rejoin,
No,
have you?
Never. You are correct on that.
I think we went above and beyond yesterday with Starbuck.
Yeah, I think that shocked some people.
Right. I hope nobody just popped the curb and went into the island when that one came on.
Moonlight.
Feels right.
Greg knows that song.
Does he?
Yeah.
No, does Greg work with you?
No, I don't know. Greg, what do you do? Greg's on the chat there.
What about Ryan?
No, Ryan.
Well, who's the bartender that listens every day?
Not
the real tall dude, but it was the other one.
Christian.
Yes. Got to meet him.
Christian's the man.
We got a herbal sighting in the building.
Elijah's here?
Yeah.
What the hell's he doing?
I think the J is silent.
And the J in Elijah? Or
yes, yeah.
So Elijah.
Well, it's Elijah.
Well, you're still saying the J.
Kind of, with a ja.
Ja.
Like Deja. I had a girl we went to school with. Her name was Deja. And there was a J in her name. Deja vu.
Ja.
Ooh, that's a song we'll have to play sometime.
What's that?
The song's called Deja Vu. Gosh, who sang that? It's like one of them Crystal Gale sounding things.
How's everybody's Tuesday going? Oh, you're a postal carrier. Okay, Greg. There's Elijah.
That comes ahead of my favorite pre-gamers.
Elijah.
Elijah. You pronounce the J.
On air light out here doesn't work anymore?
Yeah.
I didn't know that until this night.
Yeah, they don't care about our little studio. It's Elijah.
Elijah.
Everybody. Yeah, he's going to be in next week.
Doing what?
Well, I'm going to be gone.
Oh.
So he's filling in.
He's going to be doing he's going to be doing the turntables?
Nebraska
Yeah.
Apparently just picked up a tight end from LSU.
Oh, wow.
And number 18 tight end in the country from last year.
And he's going to be on the squad this year?
He left fall camp from LSU and now he's at practicing with Nebraska.
Wow.
So when does the portal close?
What's his name, Elijah?
Mac Markway?
Mac Markway?
Yeah.
Return of the Mac. You'd hate to steal T's intro song for that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. What are you doing here?
Should be an recording interview.
Oh.
Yeah, I got a podcast movie here soon too. So I'd come say hi.
Well, thanks for stopping in.
Yeah. Hello, friends.
There he is. Elijah.
Have a good one.
That's our
See ya.
resident 70s stash guy there.
Brian says he knows the driver of Hooksy's bus
Well, hopefully
because he's on a bus right now.
So hopefully he's a good driver.
Ernesto says Dion Warwick.
Yeah, yes.
She's great.
Yes, was Dionne Warwick.
What the world needs
Deja
now.
vu. You could be the dream that I once knew.
What the world.
And I believe Dionne Warwick was Whitney Houston's aunt.
That's true.
This is the Morning Hookup on KFOR.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Morning Hookup on KFOR. Happy Tuesday. I'm Will Wilson. Bill Hook's still out. He'll be back tomorrow. Matthew Malone is back in, sitting in the power chair. What's going on, man?
It is the power chair because that thing I was sitting in yesterday, I swapped that out.
Yeah, you don't like that chair.
No, it was too
sturdy.
Too new age. You
yeah,
know?
too modern.
Yes. I'm going with this broke-in chair.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the show. Happy Tuesday.
Well, I got to say this. You've always been a trooper. When I come in and sub, one of the first things, that our listeners may not know is Will's always been gracious to ask me what kind of songs I would like to pick for our rejoins today. And And I deferred that to Will, and Will wanted to play an Oasis song to open up the show because Will is ecstatic that I guess Oasis is getting back together.
Apparently, news came out yesterday that Oasis is reuniting, and they're going to be going on a big tour. Now, I'm not sure if the tour is going to be coming to America or not. I heard somebody say that it was going to be strictly Europe.
Okay, is that where they're from? You're gonna have to help
Yes.
me. I know who Oasis is, and I know some of their songs, but
yeah, I think
like
they're
we talked about, I drank a lot in the '90s, so it
Right.
all runs together.
yeah, but that's okay.
Okay,
I'm sure you're
All right.
not alone on that. Yeah, I think they're from London. They could easily be from Ireland, but I think they're from London. So, anyways, it's a big deal. A lot of people are excited about that.
Good. All right.
Yeah, so Oasis getting back together. Pretty cool.
Did you just get some breaking news from Elijah?
Yeah, well, and I want to bring this up to Brian because
Okay.
we will have Brian Munson on the show a little later. He's our recruiting expert. Elijah told me that some tight end that was committed, that was on LSU's roster,
Mac.
Mac Markway,
Okay.
somehow, some way, he is now a Husker. Yeah, he was at fall camp with LSU. Now all of a sudden he's here in Lincoln and he's a Husker.
And I think one of the good questions to ask Brian when we get him on is this portal window.
Yeah,
Is there a deadline? Because obviously school has started down here at the university.
right.
But if you remember back to I'm going to say 2018 when Adrian Martinez was named the starting quarterback.
Yes,
I think wasn't Jebby in the portal like 2 days after that,
I think so.
and that's what you want to try and prevent.
Yeah,
I don't
gosh.
think you drag out naming a starting quarterback to prevent kids from doing that. You want it to be obviously an open competition, like which I think we had this year. But that's weird. That okay, I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of which, the depth chart was released
Yes,
yesterday.
it was like right after, like about an hour or so after we went off air.
Yeah,
Some surprises.
a little bit. We're going to be talking to Robin Washut here in about 3 minutes. We'll see what he thought of the depth chart. Anything jump out to you?
There were a couple things. I think the depth at the wide receiver position is evident because you saw case in point Malachi Coleman, who was really relied on last year, third on the depth chart, along with Bullock, who played a lot. But that I think they're going to play a lot of receivers. To be expected. You saw 3 quote unquote oars at the running back spot. So it sounds like that's going to be just maybe up to a game time decision, just depending on what play they want to run. I think what that means is they feel confident they could stick any one of the 4 of them out there, which is good.
Rules said yesterday during his presser, he's like, we're going to play them all.
Yeah.
So, I mean, get ready for that. It's a good problem to have, I guess.
I think there were some good surprises maybe on the defensive side. Buford, who had been working primarily at safety most of the spring, summer, and everything, is going to be the starting cornerback opposite of Tommy Hill. Blyhill coming off of an injury is third on there, and then you had I think the Branch kid in the second was a walk on. I think that's Troy Branch's kid. Second at one of the safeties or Nichols. Also Stewart, who I think is maybe a redshirt freshman and one of the second team in the secondary as well. That was kind of surprising. But what this says is, hey, we're not going off of seniority. We're not going off of recruiting rankings. We're going off of what you put on film at practices and the effort and everything like that. So just because you're a walk-on does not mean that if you don't go in and bust your tail that it's not going to be rewarded. And I like that.
Right. So we'll have Robin on here in a few minutes. We'll talk everything UTEP, the depth chart with him. Brian Munson will join the show. There's always recruiting news. We just brought up how there's now a new tight end on the roster, and we'll see who's visiting this weekend. I'm sure a lot of the people are going to be visiting next weekend. That's the big. We're already getting word on who's going to be coming that weekend, so he'll know everything about that. We'll talk about Ohio State every day. We are previewing a new team on the schedule, and today is number 2 in the nation, Ohio State. Thew has some research on that opponent because it seems like we've been playing them every single season since we joined the Big Ten. So we'll talk about that and stories we missed at the end of the show. Before we get Robin on the show, how about those Royals?
Boy, we talked about them being 3 games back when we were on air yesterday with a doubleheader looming to start that 4-game set against them.
Against Cleveland, who's
Against the Cleveland, again, it's Guardians of the Galaxy, Cleveland. And boy, if the Royals just didn't go out and sweep that doubleheader.
unbelievable.
1 game out of first place.
A grand slam from Salvi.
Drove in career high 6 runs in that second game.
What a guy.
I love it. So we talked about, hey, if they could go out and sneak 3 out of this series somehow, some way, but now you already got 2 out of the way. I'm not going to get greedy and say, well, let's just go for I obviously would love the sweep, but you've got 2 chances to go and win 1 game to just, by the time the series being done, still be only 1 game out. Solidify. And also I think it ultimately is helping your wild card chances too, because you're continuing to win to maybe get some separation from those other teams.
Yeah, now I think you're like, and the Twins lost too, so you're like 6.5 up.
6.5 or 7.5. Yeah, it's good. It's good.
It's good.
I like it.
We
I like
like
it a lot.
Let's get Robin Watchett on the show.
All right. I'm sure he's been doing some. I love that you get that dial tone effect.
You like that?
I do. And
He's the only person we do it for.
Well, no, it's good, and you hope that a kid doesn't answer, or you hope that it's not a spam call.
He knows our number by now.
He has caller ID. If he picks up and says, "I don't want any of what you guys are selling," we're just going to have to fill the segment. We patiently wait. It's like one of those morning shows. Hi.
Hi,
And he is available. I texted Hooks to text Robin to ask if he's okay to come on the show. And Hook said, Robin said he's good. So we'll expect a call back from him. Let's talk about this depth chart a little bit more. I think the left guard spot is interesting because you have a name there that a lot of people haven't been talking about. You may not even know. Justin Evans, sophomore from New Jersey. They got him playing that left guard spot with Henry Latovsky in the second spot. I think a lot of people probably thought that was Henry's spot. What I've heard about Henry is it's taken him a while to figure it out, is what I've been hearing. So I don't think it's not a surprise that he's not the number 1 player on that spot. But I'm so interested in this offensive line because obviously if there wants to be any success on the offense, it starts with them. What do you think of the O-line depth chart there?
I like it, and I think I misspoke and called him Jenkins yesterday. I don't know, but Evans, it's a guy that they feel is very versatile. He got some good playing time last year with some of the injuries that you had up front. Newly and things, they've been banged up, and this is a guy who could actually even slide in and play center if they needed him to as well. I was kind of interested because we really talked about Gunnar Gatula, the Lincoln Southeast Knight grad,
Yes.
possibly really competing with Turner Corcoran at that left tackle spot ever since we had the injury over there. But it was, when the depth chart came out, they had Turner backing up Bryce over there at right tackle and put Grant Segrin as the backup left tackle, who I believe is a redshirt walk-on freshman, which they said that he's really busted his butt in the weight room. If you go back over the years, 40, 50 years, there's a lot of walk-on from Nebraska linemen who've really made a name for themselves, because let's be honest, a lot of the kids out there in the middle of Nebraska and stuff do not get the media coverage of say an offensive lineman who is from South Florida or in Texas, stuff like that. And so just because they're a walk-on in Nebraska does not mean that the hunger isn't there or the ability. And it's just another great story of a guy getting here, taking the opportunity, running with it, busting their butt in the weight room. As excited as I am to see, some of those guys, you kind of at the same time hope you don't, because when it comes to offensive line, that's not like defensive line where you're rotating guys to keep them fresh. You usually run with 5, maybe have a swing guy at the tackle or something to spell some guys, but you usually have your starting 5, maybe 6 set, and you go with it, barring an injury.
Looking at the quarterback, Harburg, the second string. No or listed next to the name. It goes Raiola, Harburg, and then Kalen. And you think that's surprising? I think Harburg's probably earned that.
He's earned it. While I would be interested to see, I'm not interested to see, because obviously you do not want your starting quarterback to go down. I think that if you're in a game either direction that's out of hand, I think this is probably how the depth chart might play out to start the season. They've talked about wanting to redshirt Danny Kaye. You have that, you can get a little bit of separation, especially if Dylan's only here 3 years. Preserve that. I would be interested. Let's say you go out to Ohio State, and for some reason the Dylan has to come out for a series or two because he tweaked an ankle or something like that. Who do you run out there?
Yeah.
Is the game close? How many games has Danny Kaye played? Has he played in 0? Okay, maybe we can go and get him some game experience. Has he played 4? Do you not want to burn that red shirt on a game that you might be losing? So I think a lot of how that depth chart is going to pan out through the year is going to depend on your opponent, what your record is. Are you still in that game? What are your plans for these guys moving forward? But they've also talked about, too, that Harburg is such an athlete, just an NFL prototype body, that they somehow are going to get him involved. It had to have been one of the first plays last year against Minnesota where they ran him out of like this H-back position and like a throw out in the flat. So I think if you can get that guy in empty space, also maybe they do bring Harburg in for some power running packages, or if it's a 4th and a foot.
I could see it.
So I think it's going to be some situational football with him still maybe taking some meaningful snaps.
Another or on the depth chart that is kind of interesting. The kicker, the kicking position. We don't know. There's not a set kicker. It's either Tristan Alvano or the transfer John Hull. Or no, he's not a transfer. I don't think he is. John Hull from Lincoln. Yeah, those two ors next to those names.
Well, because Tristan had the groin injury that lingered into the start of fall camp. He's your scholarship kicker that you went out and got last year. Obviously, after seeing him boom kicks through the uprights in Memorial Stadium during his high school career. But what they've said is that the John Hull, he's really come in and competed. I know that sounds weird when we talk about the kicker spot, because these guys get maybe 15 minutes worth of the practice every day, and that's about it. But we laugh about it because we're talking about place kicker. But look at last year. How many games were won and lost, not because of the kicking position, but maybe by one score. So it does become an important position, especially when you come from a place like this. We look back that we were so spoiled for so long because you had the Alex Henrys,
Brett Maher,
and it just even the Pat Smith guy who came in for one season. It just there was like a long line of we were kicker U for a while. It was great, even punter U for a while, because I think we had 2 or 3 punters in the NFL at one given time. So it's an aspect of the game. Special teams, 1/3 of it. You hope that they both end up healthy, and I think having depth at that position never hurts.
Hooksy is on the chat right now.
Is he? Great.
Yeah, he's chatting with some of the people.
Tea time in 32 minutes.
Yeah.
Pre-game. I bet his pre-gaming is a little different than ours.
Well, 10:14 in the morning for you. The pre-gaming is a little early.
That's all right. Well, Hooksy, have one of those nice beverages with the little umbrellas in it for me.
Hey, by the way, the defense depth chart, that is just like you look at it and you're just like salivating from the mouth.
You are, because just at the guys returning.
Yes.
Especially when you get someone like Singleton back healthy at that safety position. And you're also impressed, one of the names too that we left off, Amari Sanders backing up Tommy Hill at one of the quarterback spots. This is a guy that you heard his name tossed around quite a bit during fall camp. True freshman. I believe he's out of Florida.
Miami.
Yes.
Yeah.
We kind of had to fight some schools off to get him, and came in and worked. You're seeing some guys you might remember from some recruiting classes in the past. Kobe Brett's backing up the second team at one of the safety positions. And Sayre Wright coming over from USC not that long ago. He's in a battle. And just because especially on defense, if you see a guy's name listed in the second spot, they're going to play.
Right.
They've made no bones about it. They did it last year. That the depth on that defense is definitely a strong suit that they boast about.
Yeah, especially that DN possession. I mean, you got Jamari Butler on top, but you're telling me Cam Lenhart's not going to get any playing time. I mean, he was very promising as a young freshman. And, man, you talk about a guy I'm excited to finally see. It was a little underwhelming last year. MJ Sherman is who I'm talking about. You heard a lot of great things with this guy coming in. You know, he didn't do terrible last year, but I think we're all kind of still waiting to see him really, come out of his shoes.
Right.
And I think this could be the year.
Well, and when you're alternating between him and Princewell, I mean, that's a very solid position with both those guys having meaningful experience, and even go back to, that last defensive end position. You look and they've got James Williams listed third. And I think that what this is it's going to be situational football because remember, we didn't want to burn his red shirt. We let him play 4 games, but this is a guy that came absolutely out of nowhere during fall camp and kind of, if you will, became their third down pass rush specialist. And so now you're going to have him for the full 12 games. They say that he's gotten stronger, even reshaped his body. I was impressed in just the small body of work that we had out of him last year. So I think him being listed third really doesn't mean much either. Again, that's going to be a lot of situational football with a lot of these guys.
So the depth chart's out. Kind of interesting to look at. We were not able to get Robin on the show. Wonder what he's up to. It's okay. We'll talk to him next week. Maybe we'll get him on at some point today. But let's take a break and let's get Brian Munson on the show. Again, we had some news right before we came on that Nebraska added a new tight end, and he's playing this year. He's eligible. A quick addition right before the season starts. We'll see if Brian knows anything about that, and we'll have Brian Munson on the show when we come back.
You're listening to the Morning Hookup with Bill Hooks and Will Wilson. More coming up.
Everybody, I am happy to see a name in the chat. Justin Brinkmeyer is back in the chat, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, give me some background here.
He is a regular, but we haven't seen him for a few months. He's been working. He's got a new job, and he hasn't been able to watch. But he's back today. Oh, Justin, it's good to see you, man. How are you? Oh, it's good to see your name back in the chat, man. We miss you.
See, and I love the fact that we get the interaction from the fans, but sometimes I'm jealous because of my job. So I figure that everybody who's in on the chat has either the best job in the world where they get to either work for home or in a cubicle or wherever that allows them to be able to interact like this, or they all work second shift.
Yes.
They just get up early to chime in. It's great. Or they're independently wealthy.
Don't have to work.
Right. And they're all sitting on their own private islands.
Same old job, different role. Right. Different role. Well, it's good to see you back, man. You still know how to do this thing, right, Justin? You still know how to comment, make some jokes.
Boy, he's got jokes too.
Yes.
Oh, we're gonna have a full-blown stand-up show with all these guys that you've got on here.
Oh, I know. Justin is hilarious. We missed him. Even when we first started doing Ask Will Anything, I think that's right when you kind of got that new role, Justin. So it's good to have you back, man.
Maybe we could like a Justin Ernesto duo comedy club day or show or something like that one of these times.
We need to have another show meetup. Oh, Ryan 840, you're delivering boxes right now?
Hot box?
Yeah, because, I bet those delivering trucks don't have the best AC, especially on days like this.
It's funny. Some of these locomotives that it's one extreme or the other. Either the AC doesn't work and you bake in them, or there's not a thermostat on them. So you turn the AC on. I wear a sweatshirt in the summer more than I do in the fall and the winter on those motors.
Really?
Oh, it's almost like it's going to snow in there.
So it works well.
Yes. Or sometimes it does not work.
Oh.
So I don't want to sound like I'm really complaining, but there are days that sometimes I wish it almost wouldn't work, where I could deal because I hate the cold. I just hate the cold.
I got to get Brian on the phone real quick.
Okay, you get Herman Munson. So, AC works like a 70s car. So hopefully it still has like one of those old school ashtrays in it too. And I think that's where you can click the high beams on and off from the little silver knob on the floor, and doesn't have it on the dash. Yeah, my son was really amazed that we used to pump gas in the old cars by pulling down the back license plate, and that's how you filled it up. He thought I was kidding. But lines are lighting up. Log jam at the call position, huh?
Yeah, well, okay, so we are audibling. We have Robin. We have Robin on the show.
Yeah, I noticed that they were both lit up at the same time there.
Welcome back into the show. Happy Tuesday. Will Wilson with you, Matthew Malone filling in for Bill Hooks, who is currently about 10 minutes away from his tee time, wherever he's at golfing with his buddies. We were going to be bringing you Brian, but Robin is magically on the show right now. Robin Washit joins the morning hookup. Well, Robin, what's going on?
Going all right. Better late than never, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, why not? It's game week. We had to get you on at least for a little bit, man. What's the excitement level right now?
High, because we actually in a few days get to talk about a real game and not just all the glowing reports out of practice and making sure guys stay healthy enough to actually suit up for the first game. So I'm ready. The season is here. Let's get it rolling. Actually get a live opponent, a real game to dissect and overreact to, and then we're off and running.
What do you know about UTEP right now? Have you kind of dived into them at all?
Yeah, they're a lot of new coaching staff, and they brought over a ton of players. I think they got like 50 new guys on their roster. Bunch of kids from Austin P that follow the coaching staff over there. They're going to run a super up-tempo offense. They're going to try to run as many plays as physically possible. And they're going to take some shots. They're going to be aggressive on both sides of the ball. So they're going to try to go max tempo on offense, throw the ball over the field. And then on defense, they're going to send a lot of blitzes. They're going to try and disrupt things, take chances on some 50-50 balls. And, that I can go one of two ways for you. It can change games and completely throw the other team out of rhythm, or it can leave you extremely vulnerable to digging yourself in a big hole early. So we'll see how that strategy works, but Nebraska is fully aware of what they're getting themselves into. And if they don't match that aggressiveness, things could get maybe a little bit uncomfortable for them on Saturday.
Well, Robin, yesterday was the day during the fall season that every football junkie in Nebraska looks forward to. It's the release of that first depth chart. And obviously, we already learned who the starting quarterback was going to be a couple days prior to that. But we got to learn the rest of the positions. Running back was kind of how we thought it would be, maybe up until the game time decision. But there were some other ones in there that were some surprises. Can you talk about some of the depth chart positions that when that came out that maybe caught your attention at first glance?
I'd probably say on offense, Jenner and Bonner being the starting slot receiver. I knew he'd had a really good offseason. They were really high on him, but for him to be listed as an outright starter definitely kind of shows just how highly this staff thinks of him. And listening to Matt Rule talk about him yesterday further back that up even more, where they see him as a slot receiver, but he said that a perfect example is they can be an 11 personnel and go line up under center with a fullback and not have to sub anybody because of that versatility that Bonner brings to the offense as a receiver, as a tight end, as a running back, as an H-back, and really kind of a jack of all trades that they love so much in this type of offense. So, that I think was kind of the exclamation point on what had been a really impressive offseason for him. And then on defense, probably the secondary, some of the, not the starters necessarily, but the backups, where you got Ramir Stewart and Kobe Brett, and I'm blanking on the other kid.
The true
younger kid,
freshman
the
from
backup
Florida.
Yeah. No, I don't have the depth chart in front of me. I can't remember his name. Anyway, there's some backups in that second and third spot in the secondary that we really hadn't heard a whole lot about. Their names have been mentioned here and there, but for them to be not only listed on the depth chart, but in some cases outright number twos, was a bit surprising, just in the sense that they were ahead of some other names that you would have figured to be a spot or two ahead of them. So they're going to rotate a ton on defense. That's why depth charts kind of are what they are, especially at certain positions. Like Cam Lenhart's not a starter, but he's a starter. Like they're probably going to get a black shirt today, and so you only put so much stock into that just because of how much on defense they rotate. But certainly how high some of those names, especially some of those younger defensive backs, were on the week one depth chart, was probably the most surprising thing for me.
We're talking to Robin Washut. The kicking position is interesting. Tristan Alvano, John Hole. Man, I know Alvano's been dealing with that groin injury, but a kicking position is always super fun to me.
Yeah, fun's one word for it. They got to get that figured out. They are probably going to make a final decision on that on Thursday, but there's really not much of an indication on what that decision might be, because they could go so many different ways with it. They could go, if they feel good enough with Alvano outright, he's going to handle all the kicking duties. They could do it where Alvano's the place kicker and Hole does the kickoffs to reduce some of that wear and tear. In that regard, they could give it to John Hole outright, let him handle all the kicking duties. They could do Hole as the place kicker with Bushini handling kickoffs. So, I mean, there's all different ways that they could do this. And they could even do a combination where, because of Tristan's injury and, they're not wanting him to kind of go, max effort on his kicks, maybe he handles field goals and PATs, field goals inside of a certain yardage, and PATs where Hole, if they need a longer field goal, he comes out and does that. So that is up there with running back, is by far the most uncertain position on the entire team. And even with Tristan's healthy, you just got to wonder where that competition stands right now. I don't know if it's a deal where once he's 100%, it's, the keys are fully in his hands. John Hole, especially if he gets an opportunity to showcase what he can do in a game and does well, that could change the conversation in a big way. So, how the running back workload's divvied out and how those kicking responsibilities are handled are probably two of the more interesting developments that we'll find out early on Saturday.
Robin, ever since Dylan decided to change his commitment to Nebraska, this upcoming Saturday is the day that just a lot of these fans have been waiting for. And, to put it bluntly, the offense was painful at times to even watch last year. So you bring in a very talented quarterback. You went out to the transfer portal. You brought in two veteran receivers. You've got a healthy Fedoni to go with all this depth that you've got. What is this offense going to look like? I mean, are we going to – I know that you said UTEP is going to play up-tempo. We maybe not up-tempo, but even though we're in the Big Ten, it's still going to be warm out for this fall game. Are we going to be slinging the ball all over the field here? Is it going to be 50-50, or what's this offense do you think going to look like this Saturday?
I'd hope they run the ball and do so early and often. That's probably, like, you look at this matchup, the biggest advantage Nebraska has is just the size, physicality, and depth on both sides of the line of scrimmage. And so they would be smart to play to that, wear down that defense, especially, the other side of the coin of running a fast tempo offense, as we saw for several years under Scott Frost, is you can go 3 and out real quick, and then that defense is back on the field. And if you're just sledgehammering them with the running game, for 3-4 yards a pop, suddenly that game can turn in a hurry as the clock wears on. So that would be my strategy. Don't sit there and ask Dylan to throw the ball 50 times, unless he has to. But they will take shots. I think that you got a quarterback like that, you better use him. And what an opportunity to kind of work through mistakes. So if he does make a bad decision and throws a pick, I'd rather him do that against UTEP than against Colorado on national television. So I think that there's a balance there where you want to lean on your strengths, do what you need to do to have the game under control and make sure you win it. But also let your young quarterback get his first real taste of live college football action against a real opponent. Let's see how he responds when he gets hit. And if he makes a mistake, a bad throw or whatever it may be, that's really the biggest unknown with him right now. The talent is all there. And, the things he was able to accomplish from the start of the offseason to now have been nothing but, perfect. But the one thing that we don't know is just how he's going to handle adversity when the spotlight's on him. So, like I said, this is a great opportunity to do that. But at the same time, you don't want to put too much on his plate and risk potentially putting yourself in a dicey situation in terms of actually winning the game.
Robin, I don't always get the opportunity to speak with you. I'd be remiss if I didn't at least sneak this in because I don't know when I'll hear from you again. Now that, and I'm going to give you a total 180 here. School has started. I'm sure that Burke, I'm not going to even try and pronounce his last name, and Gavin from Rutgers are on campus. Those are two guys I didn't get to see while I was down there because they were both gone. Have you got a chance to see those two, and how legit are they?
I have not.
Okay.
The open practice we were able to see, Berke Buyungtunjul was
Say
back
that 3
in
times.
Turkey still. Buyungtunjul. Anyway, and Gavin Griffiths was out, obviously, with that wrist injury. But the expectation with Gavin was that he was going to be 100% ready to go for the start of fall practices. Those get going here in mid-September. And then Berke is on campus. He arrived last weekend for the start of the fall semester. So he's all enrolled in classes and is here going through just kind of strength and conditioning workouts and all that. So as of last weekend, it was the first time the complete 2024-25 Nebraska basketball roster was on campus together. And so still some work to do in terms of adding, Burke to the mix and getting Gavin going and just seeing how that picture looks and the different things you can do with it leading up into the season. But I think they have 40 or 50 so practices before the first game. And so they'll be able to probably have ample opportunity to figure some of that stuff out. And they have the exhibition game. They're going to do an inter-squad scrimmage, I believe, sometime in October. So there'll be a few tune-ups before things really get rolling, when I guess probably the first big one is going to be in November when St. Mary's rolls to town, or goes to Sioux Falls, when they go to Sioux Falls to St. Mary's.
Well, Robin, it's the first time to get a score prediction from you. UTEP, Nebraska, 2:30 on Saturday. What are you going with?
I haven't even sat down and done a score. What's the spread? Is it like 27?
Yes.
27 and a half, something like that.
Yeah.
So I'd assume it'll be around there. I just see this being a deal where Nebraska controls the clock. And I don't know how many times UTEP's going to get an opportunity to score points. So I'm going to say it's going to be something along the lines of, gosh, that's a big number, 27.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Just for right now, I'll go something to the effect of 42 to 10. How about that? 42 to 10. Nebraska covers.
I like it. Robin Washit, HuskerOnline.com. Robin, thanks for making time for us today, and enjoy the game Saturday.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
See you, Robin.
Thank
There
you.
he is. Robin Washit, HuskerOnline.com. Let's keep the HuskerOnline.com train rolling. We'll get Brian Munson on the show when we come back talking everything recruiting before Saturday.
You're listening to the Morning Hookup with Bill Hooks and Will Wilson. More coming up.
Ernesto thinks he keeps saying that Bill is on a beach with President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden.
I don't know that Bill's on a beach, but maybe the president's on that bus golfing in Manhattan with those guys.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Maybe. Shane said it's been a long time since he's been this excited for both football and basketball in Lincoln.
I will tell you this, and I didn't want to keep him too long. I didn't know if he'd got a chance because I knew he was at that practice that Henry T and I went to, and the two gentlemen that I asked him about were not practicing. That Braxton kid from Washington wasn't practicing either, but he was there. That's a big kid. I'm excited. The sum of the parts are there. I'll tell you that. I mean, because I can't give you any prediction on how it's going to work, but the sum of the products is there. And if it works together, they'll be in the tournament again. Absolutely.
I'm also very excited. T is very, very excited. And I think when T gets excited, something's going on.
To be fair, T gets excited a lot.
He does. But this year's different. You can tell he's genuine in what he's thinking.
No, because we sat there, because T and I sat there right next to Bruce Chubbuck, and Bruce was more than ecstatic too. And so obviously Bruce was watched every year for the last 30 plus. And so he said that this could be a special group too if they make it work together.
They got depth. So does this football team.
Yeah. But you're only one injury away from not having depth. So keep the fingers. Injuries are going to happen. You just hope that you keep them to a minimum.
Right.
But what's nice is that you do have some good spots. Remember, you wanted this.
Let's go all the way. Let's go all the way. Yeah. Let's go.
Welcome back into the morning hookup on KFOR. Thank you again to Robin Washington for joining the show. He's taking Nebraska 42-10 on Saturday over UTEP. Right now, we are going to bring on Brian Munson with HuskerOnline.com. Brian, good morning. What's going on?
Sly Fox is going on.
Exactly. I remembered you saying that.
One of my favorite one-hit wonders of all time, right up there with Dexy's Midnight Runners and anything else out there. Was it Paul Wilder that did? What was the song he sang?
Matthew Wilder, Break My Strider. Yeah.
Break My Stride. Oh, my goodness.
1982 flashback.
Well, and I was just doing some 1985 flashback stuff. So Power of Love, Huey and Lewis was the number one hit in 85, about the middle of the year. And Susudio by Phil Collins. That was a year dominated by
85.
Wham.
Yeah, 85. You're talking Aha was in their power, and then you had songs from the Big Chair album coming out for Tears for Fears. Coming up there,
was huge. They had two number one hits. They were on top of the charts for almost 2 months.
That's one of Will's favorite rejoin songs.
I love Tears for Fears.
Everybody wants to rule the world.
And John Parr, like St. Elmo's Fire.
Yes, there you go.
Man in Motion. So that was a big hit that year too. I mean, that's taking me back. That's true MTV days right there.
Well, and we appreciate you being patient, trying to piece this show together, and then we got a hold of you, and Robin called back, and we thought the only way to settle this is maybe to have a steel cage match between you and Robin.
Oh, buddy.
Hey, my money's on you, Brian, because you know your 80s music better.
Yeah, Robin's, I think he's got that wiry thing going on, the kind of guy that you're just kind of questioning whether or not you want to get into a big
No, I
fight
do.
with that. He's gonna outlast me.
He's
I
in
gotta
good
get my
shape.
hands on once it's over.
Well, Brian, thank you for joining the show, man. Happy game week. It's officially here. We could take on UTEP on Saturday. Before we get to anything, though, I was a little birdie in my ear gave me some information before the show. Now, this is some new information, and I understand if you don't know a lot about it. But apparently there's this tight end from LSU, Mac Markway, that has seemingly left LSU and is now joining Nebraska. Do you know anything about this?
I only know that it's been mentioned obviously here on Red Sea Scrolls on Husker Online. He's released a tweet that says "Go Huskers." The name is somewhat familiar to me, that I might have caught up with him before, because I believe he's a St. Louis guy. And I think that's maybe where I had caught up with him before, but I don't know for sure. So I need to really dig into my archives, which is probably means for me to get off this, when I get off this call, to go have another cup of coffee and sit around and think about stuff for a little while. So, but no, I think obviously I'm looking him up right now. Yep. He was from DeSmet. He was at a St. Louis high school, or out of St. Louis. So he's DeSmet High School. So he was a 2023 guy. So he enrolled. Okay. So yeah. So, things are kind of coming back to light here a little bit for me, but I believe that he may have actually taken a trip or two to Nebraska in high school. Pretty highly recruited guy, 4-star guy. This is kind of out of left field. This is a guy right here that, kind of took only one official visit to LSU. 4-star, very highly rated 4-star. So this is an interesting find, an interesting get for Nebraska. I mean, clearly the tight end position is one of those really stockpiled rooms at Nebraska, but they must be feeling that this is a guy that can come in and make a difference for the Huskers right away.
Well, speaking of visiting Nebraska, one of the things I always love talking about is recruiting and me getting all geeked up about visits. I want to talk about a little bit maybe who to expect this opening weekend if we're going to have some visitors, and then also touch on the following week, because news is breaking that one of those guys that I just start salivating at the mouth like Pavlov's dog, Jackson Cantwell from Missouri, has said he's going to be up here for the Colorado game. We talk a little bit about the visitors that are starting to make some arrangements.
Yeah, what a good kid Jackson is too. So this weekend, there hasn't been a lot of breaking news as far as folks that'll be in town this weekend. I talked to Caden Vermoss for an upcoming story tomorrow. He will be in town. There's some 2026s there, like Jace Reynolds and Jermaine Green that'll be in, that are both kind of local to Omaha. I think the big one that I really, really like where Nebraska's kind of at here in the offer that they have extended, but Matt Erickson, obviously the legacy guy at Millard West, he'll be in town. There's another offensive tackle from Illinois coming in named Cameron Wagner. He announced on Twitter last night. So we're kind of still piecing that one together. It's not been the kind of weekend, that a lot of folks might have anticipated, like even me, being a 2:30 start. I still think though that what Nebraska is going to try to do this weekend is try to, hey, let's keep it light. Let's figure out logistically, that everything works like a machine, spins like a top. That way we don't have problems when we have 4 or 5 times as many players in town next weekend, because it's going to be a mob. And everything's kind of changed, guys, right? Because, obviously your class now is about 95% of the way done. So you're not really expecting a lot of uncommitted 2025 guys to be in attendance. Michael Terry will be there. Obviously, he's the big one. But really, you have to turn the page now and start looking at the 2026s and the 2027s. So they're really going to be unofficial visitors for the next 2 years that are there, that you're trying to sell them on the game day environment. So hopefully when you turn the page next year, you can get the 2026s to commit to official visits, in that May, June timeframe. And then those guys will be coming off the board next July. So it's kind of a different read, and I think Nebraska is doing a good job of kind of getting out in front of it. But I mean, like in the 2026 group, for example, like we already know about of 11 players, and I think I listed out 4 or 5 of those guys actually as 4-star players the other night in an article, like Brandon Arrington, who's already just previously gotten back from just returned from a visit from Nebraska actually in July. Jaden McGregory was also there at the end of July from Des Moines. A new name for Nebraska fans to kind of get to know is Caden Jones, who's a 4-star running back from Jenks, Oklahoma. And we'll talk about Jenks again here in 1 second. But Mike Brown also is coming in from Houston, Texas, a 4-star wide receiver. And then Caden Cobbs, who was also there in July, is coming back up from Texas. But just one name to kind of mention here really quick in 2027 is Samaj Stanford. He's also a Jenks guy. He was there the end of July. He actually was a very late offer for Nebraska right after Jamar Mosey joined the staff because there was he was holding a UCF offer, didn't have a Nebraska offer, and once Mosey got to Nebraska, they made the offer to Stanford very quickly. So they got some guys that are making some return visits actually out of those 2 classes, and that's a really good sign.
We're talking to Brian Munson. Brian, the depth chart came out. Was there anything that caught your eye? Any surprises? And what's one position that you're really excited to see?
I think one position to me that I'm a little bit surprised about is the offensive guard spot. I don't know how much Lutovsky, we're gonna really see on Saturday. I think that then is going to open the door quite a bit for for potentially a true freshman like Gibson Pyle to play a lot. In fact, I had been hearing that he had been working almost solely with the number 2s. I don't think that I don't think the plan right now would be to keep the red shirt on Gibson. I think he's shown, throughout the spring from what I've heard, that he's ready to go. I think he's been a hard worker. I think he gives some credit to the fact that he's played inside, he's played outside, he's come from the Houston area, he could play center. But I think he just got up to speed very, very quickly with what's going on with the offense and kind of came in physically ready to go, and the springtime really helped him out. So I would pay very close attention to see what's going to kind of happen on those interior offensive line spots. Like I said, I don't know how much, if any, you're going to really see Lutovsky. He may be the first guy out there on the field on Saturday, but like what Robin's prediction kind of says, and I'm kind of around that same area when it comes to a prediction. I don't think that there's any need to kind of go out there and put any type of unnecessary, harm or jeopardy for Lutovsky to get that thing any further, any more further damaged.
So I guess my question would be for that then, is this a good tune-up game then, because we're all kind of, we're excited about this week, but we all know who we play next week, and it just seems like the past several years that we've had a rain out and then have to play Colorado first, or we have to play at Minnesota or play Northwestern in Ireland. We have a true non-conference game like you and I are used to back when we were younger. What is Saturday going to look like to get us ready for the remainder of the season?
Yeah, I think that I think that honestly it's a tune-up, but I think that there's plenty to be scared of when it comes to UTEP. You've got that new coaching staff, and we've talked about this before in recent years, where you had a new staff that was taking over a program, and unfortunately Nebraska was catching them out the gate, and they obviously had something to prove, and Nebraska hadn't really kind of been living up to the hype, and was pretty down actually, in fact, talent-wise, and just couldn't be consistent. So I think that you have those kind of echoes of ghosts coming out of the closet for Nebraska, number one, where you want to be careful here of the potential of having any type of trap game. Colorado clearly has one on Thursday night against North Dakota State. With not a lot to gain and a lot to lose, and the potential looking down the road a little bit more, going back to Lincoln the following Saturday. Nebraska has some of that going on Saturday afternoon with UTEP, but Nebraska on the flip side of that is they're trying to build consistency regardless of opponent. and trying to find a way to win all games, not just games against Colorado. They got to find ways to close games out like against opponents against UTEP. I mean, that's where it starts. You have to go back and figure out how to get those 2 or 3 games that you should have won into the win column, and then the bigger games like that you lose by 2 scores or more, you have to figure out how to go back and win those games like you clearly got beat pretty soundly last year in Boulder, but you should have beat Minnesota. So you got to figure out how to get those games. And UTEP is one of those games. You got to make sure that you close that one out, and then you get focused for the next week. But I can see that working against Colorado a little bit, just because I think North Dakota State is one of those very interesting organic program schools that really prides themselves on development and being a program. And obviously their FCS ranking is very interesting. So they are talented. They have a great program. That's definitely a trap game for those guys. But in some ways, so is Saturday, and Nebraska has to just go out there with the not trying to make mistakes and get those big plays and figure out how to kind of get better.
Well, Brian, it's that time where we ask for a score prediction. I know it's still early in the week, but this is when you join the show. So we need your score prediction for Nebraska UTEP.
Yeah, I don't think I can go quite as high as what Robin did. I mean, I'm reluctant to, just because of the some of the new faces on the offensive side of the football. Let's just put it that way. I'm going to go 35-14. And I think that's actually a reasonable score, just because I like where that puts Nebraska, where they still want to get more out of it. They don't feel complacent. They're going to challenge themselves, starting on Sunday, Monday, to get back after it again, to get more against Colorado. But 35-14.
I love it. Brian, thank you so much for finding time and joining the show today. Enjoy Saturday, and we'll kick off Colorado week next Tuesday.
That sounds great, guys. Be good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Brian Munson with HuskerOnline.com. Funny enough, he went 35-14, the same exact score that Evan Bland gave us yesterday.
Like it.
We're running out of time. We don't really have a lot of time to get to Ohio State, but is there really a lot to get to?
Well, you can take. Are we going to take a break?
No, we're going to keep it here. We got about a minute 30 left.
All right, I'll give you my take really quick, Will.
Okay.
Obviously, Ohio State comes in as the number 2 team in the country. I think they're the best team in the country. You got the Kansas State quarterback transfer. Will Howard is coming in. Chip Kelly came over as the offensive coordinator. We did talk about the fact that this is our 14th year in the Big Ten, and we will have played them for the 9th time.
Jeez.
Even though this is the first year that we're not having the divisions.
Right.
Like, they've always been our crossover game, it seems like. But there's here's a couple of tidbits here. They do play Oregon October 12th. Then they have a bye week, and then they have Penn State after us. I'm not going to say that they're going to overlook us. It's going to be a tough task. But if you remember, the last time a true freshman for us went into Columbus and played was in 2018, and Adrian Martinez made that a 5-point game. We lose 27-13.
Ooh, pretty close score there from Thew. I'll give you my score tomorrow. I haven't really thought about it, but I just want to say thank you to you
Absolutely.
for coming in the past few days.
You betcha.
Thew Malone, he's always good to us, and we appreciate him. Bill Hooks will be back tomorrow, and we'll have ourselves a Wednesday with Henry T. Thank you to everybody on the chat. Thank you to everybody listening, and we will talk to you tomorrow.